Hey guys, you should have already graded your homework, which was a long time to grade, I'm sure. And then your warm-up, there is no warm-up today. You just had to make sure you headed your page in your next journal. So literal equations is what we're going to be doing today. Today is September 2nd, 2016. And don't forget to fill out your table of contents. This is page 18 for me. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that out on my table of contents. Happy Friday. Okay, so we've been dealing with lots of different types of equations. One-step, two-step, multi-step, variables on both sides. And we're solving for the variable when it comes to those. Literal equations, the definition of literal, for literal equations, is it's an equation that involves two or more different variables. So instead of solving for x, we might have an x, y, and z all in one equation, and they're going to tell us what they want us to solve for, whether it's x or maybe y or maybe z. So we'll start off with some equations that are familiar to you guys from last year. So let's talk about area of a circle. We'll start off with this one. So the formula for area of a circle is A, which stands for the area, is equal to pi r squared. Okay, r represents what? The radius. So let's say they give you this equation. They're going to give it to you, and then they're going to say solve for r. Solve for the variable r. Well, we have also the variable a here, but we want to get r by itself on one side. That's what we're doing. So we're still going to follow all of our steps. Let's rewrite the formula. A is equal to pi r squared, and I want to get r by itself. So, since the pi is being multiplied by the r squared, let's get rid of that pi. So, what's the opposite of multiplication? Pi times r. To get rid of that, we do the inverse operation, which means we divide by pi. Pi divided by pi, 3.14 divided by 3.14 cancels out to 1. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now I have a divided by pi is equal to r squared. So we're just sort of manipulating the equation to get whatever we're solving for by itself. But I want r, not r squared. Who knows the inverse operation of something that's squared? What's the opposite of squaring something? Put a star by this. The inverse of something squared, so let's say x squared, is we take the square root of that. And you should have learned that with Pythagorean theorem last year. So, to get rid of that square, I'm going to go ahead and square root that side. Now that cancels out, so I'm going to squiggle that out. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So my answer here, variables on the left, is r is equal to the square root of a, which is the area, divided by pi. And that's my answer because, again, we just want to simplify it to what we're solving for, which in this case would be r. We're going to do a lot more of these, so if you're a little bit confused, it's okay. We're going to do some more, and you'll be able to talk to your neighbors about this. Let's do one that you're going to be learning in science this year, and you may have learned it last year as well. Let's do the distance formula. Okay, the distance formula is distance is equal to rate times the time. D is equal to RT. Okay, let's say, now these are all variables. There's no numbers at all, or no symbols. It's just distance, rate, and time. So let's say we're going to solve for, let's say, t right now. So I want to solve for t. So I have d is equal to r times t. I want t by itself. So right now it's r times t. What's the inverse operation of timesing something or multiplying something? It's division. So if I divide that by r divided by r is 1. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. So my answer here is t is equal to d divided by r. And that's what I solved for t. T is what I solved for. Okay, let's just do a couple more. This is just going to have some numbers in it too with some variables. Let's say 4 is equal to 2m minus 5n. So it's always going to give you the equation and it's going to tell you what to solve for. This one, let's solve for m. So that means I want m by itself. Because the next step to this is they might give us, if we solve for m, they're going to give us the value for n, and all we have to do is substitute that in to figure out what the value of m is. Okay, so let's think about this one. I want m by itself. So we have this negative 5n that's attached. How do I get rid of this part right here, the second part of this expression on the right side? Negative 5n, the opposite of that would be adding 5n, which ends up canceling out. And I'm going to add 5n over here. Notice I don't put it right underneath the 4 because these are not like terms. One has an n and one doesn't. So I don't put it right underneath each other. So now if I rewrite what I have 5n, that's a positive 4, is equal to 2m. Now again, we have to remember what we're solving for here. We're solving for m. So it's 2 times m right now. What's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. So I'm going to divide by 2. Both sides. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the whole entire other side. So I divide the whole side by 2. And I end up getting m, which is by itself. I just moved it to the left side because the variables always have to be on the left. M is equal to 5n plus 4 divided by 2. Or again, when we get into writing slope-intercept form when it comes to linear equations, we're going to write this into two fractions. So m is equal to, again, remember it's just 5n divided by 2. And then I could do 4 divided by 2, which is what? Just positive 2. So these two are really the same exact answer. It's just one, just a little different, a little simplified. Okay, and that would be for solving for the letter M. Let's just do a couple more because you're going to have a quiz on this coming up. Short quiz, 8 questions, and I want to make sure that you feel pretty confident about this. And you'll be able to use your notes as well, so make sure you're taking really good notes. Alright, let's try this one. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes to try this by yourself. Talk with your neighbor if you need to. And then we'll go over it. Negative t is equal to r plus px. And I want you to solve for x. So go ahead and take a couple minutes to work on this by yourself. Check with your neighbors when you're done. Miss Osborne will pause it and then we'll play it when everyone's ready. Okay, so if I want to get x by itself, we're going to get rid of the variable that's not attached to the x. So let's get rid of this r. So your first step should have been to subtract the r on the right and subtract the r on the left. Now notice we're not putting them right underneath each other because they're not like terms. So now I have negative r minus t is equal to px. And my last step here is to get x by itself. So right now it's p times x. I'm going to divide by p on the right. Cancels out to 1. Divide by p on the left. So my answer ends up being x is equal to negative r minus t all over P. Okay, now what's another way of writing that? If you haven't written it a different way, go ahead and write it a different way, where I separate my terms. Okay, so you should have ended up having x is equal to, again, the first fraction is negative r over p. Second one is negative t over p. So minus t over p. This is the same exact thing, just separated. Okay, let's just try one more. And I want you to solve the equation 10x plus 5y is equal to 80, and I want you to solve that for y. Do this one by yourself. Again, when you're finished, Miss Osborne will push play, and we will go over it together. Alright, so the first thing I would have done is rewritten the problem. So 10x plus 5y is equal to 80, and I want to get y by itself. So I need to move that 10x. This is what's not attached to that variable, so let's get rid of the 10x. Your first step is subtract 10x on both sides. And I'm left over with 5y is equal to 80 minus 10x. And then the last step here is to get y by itself. I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. So I'm left over with y is equal to 80 divided by 5, and then minus 10x divided by 5. And I can go ahead and simplify that just a little bit more. 5 goes into 80. Let's see how many times. So 80 divided by 5 is 16 times. So 16 minus 5 goes into 10 2 times. So it could be written like this. That'd be as simplified as we can get it. Y is equal to 16 minus 2x, or y is equal to negative 2x plus 16. Alright, so that's literal equations. Again, it's when you're going to have two separate variables, not the same variable, and they're going to tell you which one you're actually solving for. Keep your notes out on your desk. You'll be able to use your notes on this little mini quiz. It's an 8-question quiz, so keep that open on your desk. You do not need a separate piece of paper out because there's plenty of enough room. You'll just need your calculator, your notes, and your pencil. Miss Osborne will go around and hand out the quiz. Make sure you keep your eyes on your own paper. She might also get out the blue privacy boards just so there's no wandering eyes. When you are done with the quiz, this is due at the end of class, so it's an exit ticket. You must turn it in before you leave. Turn it in, and then you can just review your notes for the past 2 weeks to make sure that you feel pretty confident about everything that was reviewed, because we're going to be starting to learn some new stuff coming up now. Okay, so this is what the quiz looks like. Again, 8 questions. And you're going to be showing your work at the bottom of the page. So make sure all your work is shown or you will not get any credit. Turn it in before you leave, and have a great 3-day weekend.